Welcome to the Water is Life podcast, where we discover how to flow from feeling dry, stuck, stagnant, and dehydrated to feeling juicy, crystal clear, and quenched. Because water is life, and getting to know water is life-changing. I invite you to surf the deep mysteries of our liquid source of life, from practical health strategies to philosophical explorations of water as a vessel of consciousness, so that you can experience the empowerment of being a living body of water starting today. Are you ready? Grab a glass of water and let's dive in. Today, we're chatting with Mario Brainovic, CEO of New Earth Technologies. Mario is an entrepreneur, researcher, and a visionary in the field of health and wellness. For years, he ran a successful international advertising agency and production house, and he was always very passionate about health and wellness, about finding ways to heal, regenerate, and restore the delicate balance between body, mind, and spirit. This led him to establish a natural pharmaceutical company that successfully helped many people for years. But after a while, he became very passionate about water. Realizing its extraordinary significance, he established New Earth Technologies, a company that offers the miracle of Ańalemma water to the world. I'm sure you're going to enjoy this conversation. Let's dive in. Before we get our feet wet with this week's topic, make sure you're subscribed so you always get the current episode. And if you take a minute to write a review, this helps others to find this wellspring of hydrating wisdom too. I pour out my thanks to you for taking the time to water this podcast so it can grow by sharing your review. Hello, Mario. I'm so happy and grateful to be here with you today. Thank you so much for joining the Water is Life podcast. I can't believe this is the first time we've had a chance to connect. Actually, we've been kind of in circles and in email threads for probably a few years now. So it's lovely to finally get to meet you.
The pleasure is all mine. I'm a huge fan, and thank you so much for having me, Isabel. I've been following your work. I love everything that you do, and it's so amazing to meet a fellow human that understands the importance of water. Usually people don't have a clue. There are worlds, literally worlds hidden in water. So it's so amazing to actually meet you because, we are kindred spirits in that sense. We really understood that there is something extraordinary about water.
There's something truly extraordinary about water. It's true. And that's really what this podcast is all about, is awakening people so that we're not the only oddballs everywhere that we go, where we're like, oh my God, there's this incredible mystery that's the most fascinating thing in the world. And then people look at you like, water? You mean like out of the toilet? Like, you're like, not exactly.
It's really,
How did you first start falling in love with water? What was the moment for you when you first started realizing that there's so much more to water than people typically realize?
Well, I always kind of knew, I would say, all the ancient spiritual traditions, they always found water sacred. And there was always water involved in healing, but we can touch upon that a bit later. But it's interesting for me, when I was actually introduced to Ańalemma as a project, my wife actually heard the lecture of Dolph, who was on your podcast, and she was like, the whole thing blew her mind. And it's interesting, I have to say this. This is now exclusive. I actually haven't shared this with anybody on any podcast up until now. So my wife is an intuitive and actually one of the rare people on the planet that really, she has this profound connection. I'm not going to even call it psychic because I believe it's something more, but let's say like that. And she actually started receiving insights that we should do something with water. Year before I even kind of got involved in Ańalemma project. And she actually saw that there should be something crystal and swirling. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, okay, should I do something? Should I create something? Mm-hmm. And a year later, she heard the lecture of Dolph, and then I got involved. immediately into the project, and I wanted to help in any way I can. Since, I owned a natural pharmaceutical company, I ran it for years, and I helped thousands of people, and this is something that I really love to do. And then I sold the entire business to Walgreens, and I was searching for a new project, something that would be for the highest good of all, something that would be incredible for people, for plants, for animals, for environment. It's like it was a huge, like a tall order, but Ańalemma ticked all the boxes. So I just threw myself 100% in, and I helped with since this is my background, I helped with human clinical trials. So we did a lot of those, and we're still doing a lot of those, where we actually want to prove beyond the shred of a doubt that when you drink this water, your entire biology is going to change. And we actually proved it short-term, mid-term, long-term, and we haven't stopped. What we're doing now is extraordinary. We can touch upon all of those studies as well. But to be honest, all of this is just, in my eye, all of this is just, I don't know how to even call that. It's a beautiful side effect. But the key element that water brings is connection. Water can connect us, the right kind of water, not water, let's not use the broad term, but it can connect us electromagnetically to our relevant larger environment. And that's extraordinary. Maybe I can, since I'm guessing that your listeners are kind of familiar with Ańalemma, so maybe I can jump into one study. I don't know if you were aware that we did. So we actually, just so listeners that aren't kind of familiar, the whole project is over 15 years of research, over 3 continents, 50 plus scientists. In the beginning, we actually picked up a whole lab by famous German scientist Fritz Albert Popp, Dr. Fritz Albert Popp, and he developed this very sophisticated technology that can capture biophotons. So every living thing exudes these tiny particles of light, and you need very sophisticated technology that can capture them. And he actually did it. And the more biophotons biological system exudes, more vitality it has. And there are a gazillion other implications, but let's stick to this one. So anyhow, this is just an intro into this early study that we did. We actually took seeds, this tiny, very simple pieces of life, and we watered some with regular water and some with Ańalemma water, and we actually measured biophoton emissions. Seeds that were watered with regular water, we really didn't see nothing special happening. But the seeds that we watered with Ańalemma water, immediately we saw these peaks and valleys of biophoton emission. It's like that the seeds started to breathe in and out light, but in a very long way, very long form. We were thinking like, we couldn't understand what was happening here, and we connected to other scientists, and after a while we realized that it started to follow the tides. So Ańalemma water connected this tiny piece of life to the circadian rhythm of nature. So it connected it to its larger electromagnetic relevant environment. Why is this so important? We actually think that this is the most important thing about Ańalemma water. All the other stuff are extraordinary. Your biology is going to change. Your health is going to change. Everything is going to change. But why is this so important, especially in this point in time? Earth is changing. Earth is changing dramatically in electromagnetic way every day, every week, every month, every year. And it's actually rapidly accelerating. And we are part of the planet Earth. We think that we are separate in some way or form. No, we are a part of this extraordinary organism. And what we really want, even though we are aware or not, we want to move with it. We want to be a part of the Earth, of its electromagnetic movement. And this water connects you. You actually start moving with it, not separate from it. So you're not only going to get connected within yourself, you're not only going to have a connection with humans around you or nature environment, you're going to get connected to entire planet on a deep level. So that was extraordinary thing that we kind of witnessed when that happened, and kind of a lot of things after that spring. But I just wanted to share that because I really love that.
So beautiful. And isn't that what we're all searching for, is that level of connection, that level of coherence and oneness and unity with the earth and with the larger symphony of the cosmos as a whole and with the other living beings. You know, we learn, oh, it's all oneness and it's all unity, and yet very rarely do we actually feel that unless you're living in an ashram, spending hours and hours a day in meditation. When else does your bio water become so coherent that you're actually tapped into this greater coherent field of life force energy that is all around us? Typically, we're so incoherent and our energy is so disconnected that it's challenging to really feel that we're one with nature and feel like we're a part of a greater wholeness. And so it's beautiful that Ańalemma, coherent full spectrum water, is able to put us in touch with who we truly are in that way. So it's beautiful to hear that the way that the tides are reflected in this water. I'm curious if you can share with people more about how the cosmos is reflected in this water as well. So it puts us in touch with our relevant environment here on Earth and our local ecology. And then how does it put us in touch with the relevant environment of, you know, the movements of the stars? Because this is something very unique to Ańalemma water that no other water structuring tool offers.
Yeah, so this is what we realized. There are cycles, these natural cycles in the universe. And it's this in the same way how this seed was connected to the tides, to the planet Earth. Every object, universe itself, is an electromagnetic organism. I always like to say that, like Nikola Tesla said, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, because everything is vibratory and everything has a profound influence on us. But I would like to say that Ańalemma upgrades your operating system. So usually, you know, when you install a new operating system on your computer, what happens is that all of your software is going to work in a much more efficient way. But more importantly, you are now able to download software, the newest software that you couldn't on the older operating system. So in this way, it upgrades your ability to receive the optimum information from cosmos. So you are enabled to perceive, receive, and react accordingly. If you're in connection, you can perceive what's relevant for your life. If you're disconnected, you can't. I love how Deepak Chopra once mentioned, when you have a clear lake and you throw a stone, there are going to be ripples from the center to the very end of lake. But if you're in the middle of a storm, you can throw an Empire State Building into the ocean and you wouldn't notice a thing. Mm-hmm. So I believe that since 99% of our molecules are water, which is extraordinary thing in and of itself when you look at, we're very clever H2O walking around, even though we're completely unaware. Molecular structure, or the crystalline structure of our body, is the same thing as water. It's like an old radio. Old radios were crystal-based. So when you tweak it here and there, you can actually tune in into very particular frequency. So you're either going to perceive it or you're not. But if you enable your entire body to receive the proper information and can actually interpret it, then you are an evolved human being. You can actually move with the universe, to answer your question. How the universe is moving, you're moving with it. You can perceive it. You can react on it. And it's even not, it doesn't even need to be conscious. But you are moving electromagnetically with it. You are part of it, so to speak. You're not disconnected. So I always say, this water creates a connection. there is extraordinary magic in it. We received thousands and thousands of letters from all over the planet how people started to change their lives just when they they started drinking Ańalemma water. Their habits started to change. Their diet started to change. And they weren't even kind of, oh, I'm going to now start to exercise. When you become more life prone, when you start to experience more life takes care of life. Mm-hmm. So this energy of care starts to awaken within you. And then you start caring about everything else around you, because everything is actually one thing. And water, at the purely physical thing, is at the core of everything. It's the communication system of the stars.
Friends, are you thirsty for spring water in its purest, wildest form, untouched by chemicals or processing, but maybe you don't have a nearby spring where you can harvest your own? We've got you covered with Alive Waters. They deliver fresh, raw, unprocessed spring water straight from a pristine, natural primary spring right to your doorstep. This water is wild and undomesticated, just like nature intended, packed with minerals and full of life force energy. And the best part? It's delivered in stunning, eco-friendly Flower of Life glass bottles designed to energize the water even further with sacred geometry. Delivery is available in Austin, San Antonio, Miami, San Francisco, LA, Portland, and New York. If you're not in one of those areas, no worries, you can still order their beautiful Flower of Life glassware from anywhere. Just head over to waterislife.shop for all the details and use the code WaterIsLife for 15% off your order.
So it's really an extraordinary thing. And I'd just like to share one really cool study that we did. Since this water is an electromagnetic phenomenon, we were thinking, okay, what's the most electromagnetic part of human biology that we can very accurately measure? It's our brainwaves. And what we did, we actually did a double-blind study with genetically identical twins. So it's a golden standard study. You have these two genetically identical individuals. Whatever happens to one has to happen to another one. So the doctor administering the water didn't know which one was which. Twins didn't know which one was which. We just gave them a glass of water to drink. One was Ańalemma water, the other one was regular water. And we actually followed their brainwave patterns through QEEG. So when the twin that took a couple of sips of regular water, basically nothing happened. All of the brain patterns was the same. There was zero change whatsoever. But as soon as the twin that took a couple of sips of Ańalemma water, there was an instant better connection with the left and right hemisphere of the brain, an instant harmonizing effect on the brainwaves, which was extraordinary to observe. We were actually so surprised that it happened so fast. So this was first, like, tangible proof that something biologically remarkable happens when people drink this water. We actually then repeated the experiments 3 weeks later, and we gave Ańalemma water to the other twin. And we saw exactly the same phenomenon happening, while now the first twin took a couple of sips of regular water and nothing happened. So this was rock solid. Like, there is something profound happening here when people drink this water. So we realized that this is the fastest result that we saw. We actually saw one really, we're going to touch upon that, which is really cool, when people lay down in Ańalemma water. That's where magic also happens very fast.
Oh, tell us about that.
Okay, maybe we can jump into that. So when we created whole house system, which is kind of you install in the piping system of your house, and you don't have to swirl, and everywhere kind of in the house you get coherent water. And we were always hypothesizing and thinking, like, since 99% of our molecules are water, and water always picks up the most dominant frequency of its environment, what would happen if people will lay down in Ańalemma water for half an hour? And then we connected to Hydrate Spa, my dear friend David Perez and Dr. Greg Lane. Since they already have the equipment there, they can very accurately measure various vitals before and after. We decided to do a 100 people study with them. Let's see what's going to happen. And we were measuring cardiac output, stroke volume, blood viscosity, and most importantly, heart rate variability. Heart rate variability is a powerful indicator not only of longevity, but also of general health. And we saw improvement on every single individual. So there was not a single individual in the study that didn't experience the improvement in all parameters. Cardiac output, stroke volume, blood viscosity, and the least improvement we saw in heart rate variability was 30%.
The least.
And this is the smallest one. And there was a lady that had huge issues. I mean, she came almost like a dead person. Her heart rate variability was like, are you alive? And her improvement was off the charts. I'm not even going to talk about that because people aren't going to believe. And the lovely thing about it, it stayed. Now the lady is kind of taking a bath in lemon water kind of constantly. So when you experience these kind of benefits, when you witness them, you know that there is something truly special there.
Absolutely. I was so excited when you guys came out with the whole home Ańalemma, and now you guys are coming out with a whole home Ańalemma plus filter soon as well,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
When is that slated to launch?
So we have actually several things coming. We're going to, within a couple of months, we're actually going to have, and we're really excited about that. We're going to be coming out. First, I'm going to talk about the picture. So the picture is actually going to be the state of the art. So we're not talking about, I'm not going to shade all the other companies. They're kind of, you know, you buy a picture and they're really sold everywhere in large quantities. But this doesn't even exist on the same planet as what we have created. So it will purify basically water from any known contaminant. So we're talking about not just like heavy metals or the microplastics. We're talking about pharmaceuticals, fluoride, everything. Everything is going to be, but at the same time, those valuable trace minerals that we need are actually going to stay inside.
Wow.
So it's really extraordinary. We're super proud about it. And
you should be. There is nothing else like that on the market.
It really is extraordinary. And we're going to make the water coherent, of course, with Ańalemma. So people are going to get the ultimate water treatment system.
Ah, I love this. I can't tell you how often people ask me for a simple countertop option, and there just isn't that much on the market.
I know there are very few, but the lovely thing is that the last couple of years, there are new technologies, nanotechnologies, graphene. There are so many things that are coming that are really exciting. And we explored all of them, and we really found the very top technology because we wanted to offer something that is absolutely the best. So when you use it, you know that you're getting the very best. And we're actually also creating a whole house system with a state-of-the-art 5-stage filtration. But you know where is the challenge there? The flow of the water. So we don't, because otherwise it gets very big and bulky, and then you have to have tanks and everything. So we're trying to find the way around it. But yeah, we're working on many various applications of the technology. We're actually working on pendant as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because this water is an electromagnetic phenomenon. When you place it above, your heart is pumping blood all over your body. And we just want to do a study that definitively proves just by wearing this, you're improving your biology. But anyhow, there are many things that we are playing with.
You have a lot of things slated, and you've recently changed your affiliate model. So you guys are on the cutting edge of everything. You're innovating in all of these different ways, which is very exciting. You guys now have a multi-generational affiliate model. So we're working on building out our Ańalemma team, which is very exciting because we need this in every single household in the world. And now there's a much more grassroots way of sharing this and getting it into more people's homes.
Yeah, we're really kind of, there's also some other things that we're developing. Our whole thing is the world is changing, and we need, we need to change how we live on the planet, and water is at the very core of it. That's why we're investing so much in our agriculture studies. I mean, what this water does for agriculture is
Can you
extraordinary as well.
tell us, my favorite aspect of the agricultural studies were what you guys were able to accomplish with cucumbers, that you were able to bring back the other gender of cucumber. Can you tell us a bit about that?
I mean, what I want to tell you about cucumbers is really extraordinary. We had a like 1 hectare, 1 acre, I don't know, a large greenhouse in the Netherlands where we performed all of our studies, all of our tests. And there is this farmer who came about and he bought entire greenhouse and he continued to use Ańalemma water in the greenhouse. And there is this form of cucumbers that gives fruit between 10 and 12 weeks in a year. And anywhere on the planet, it gives fruit 10 to 12 weeks in a year. That's basically it. With Ańalemma water, he's at 24 weeks.
Wow.
So the yield doubled.
Mm-hmm.
But not only that, the key element is nutrient density. The sheer vitality of that fruit is off the chart. Like I mentioned, we did biophoton research on, for instance, our tomatoes. They exude anywhere between 60 and 200% more light than tomatoes that were grown with regular water. And when you eat that tomato, all that energy ends up in your cells. So we want to not just change the water that people drink, but the food they eat. And now I really have to mention one. It's a groundbreaking study that we did on soil. So we actually took completely depleted, destroyed piece of soil by glyphosate and various toxins that big pharma, big agro companies are using. So it was a completely barren piece of soil. You couldn't grow anything on it. It was dead. And one part we watered with regular water, and one part we watered with Ańalemma water. And then we went to see what happened in the soil on a molecular level. So the part that was watered with regular water, the soil was still dead. So it was completely barren. There was zero change, literally nothing changed. But the part that was watered with Ańalemma water, there was a huge explosion in biodiversity of the microbiome of the soil. There were these colonies of bacteria started to show up, so much so that colonies of bacteria started to suck CO2 out of the atmosphere into the soil where it belongs. Total nitrogen got improved dramatically. Total nitrogen cycle improved. Within only 2 months, Ańalemma water revived that piece of soil to a point where you can actually grow food on it, which was extraordinary to observe again.
It's extraordinary. And the implications are incredible as well, not only for what this is doing for the environment. Imagine if all large-scale agricultural operations were using Ańalemma water, what that would do for the greenhouse gases in the area, but what it could do for our microbiome as well. If it's doing this in the soil, what can it do for your gut?
That's why we did double-blind placebo-controlled study where we measured dysbiosis index of the microbiome. We wanted to see what happens with human microbiome when people drink this water. So this dysbiosis index actually describes the degree of deviation within the microbiome, taking into account all the different bacteriophyla and species. And I love to geek out on the whole microbiome thing because it's extraordinary. We like to think of ourselves as humans that we are like a single species. Nothing could be further from the truth. We are living in symbiosis with trillions of these microorganisms. There are up to 300 times more microbial genes than human genes inside human body. So this equilibrium, we are an ecosystem and everything needs to work together. And the microbiome is the very heart of it. So science has now connected the state of microbiome with basically any area of our health, not just like our digestive health. We're talking about immune health, cardiovascular health, skin health, neurological health. I love that, people are nowadays talking about serotonin and how incredibly important it is for the state of our mood. But not a lot of people are aware that 95% of serotonin is being created in the gut and is being delivered through the gut-brain axis to the brain. So the state of your microbiome influences your entire life. So anyhow, I just love microbiome and the whole story around it. What happened is that we had 17% improvement on the overall dysbiosis index over the placebo, but more importantly, there was a sharp decline in bad bacteria and rise in positive bacteria. There is this equilibrium that actually happened, and this is what we want, because these bad bacteria have a bad rep, but I would say that everything that exists in human body has a purpose. It's just a matter of quantity.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to have everything, but just in the right size. And this water brings balance back.
Mm-hmm.
We are now actually in the middle of double-blind placebo-controlled, new double-blind placebo-controlled microbiome study where we were inspired by this study. And we're doing DNA sequencing of an entire microbiome because science has now pinpointed the exact pathway by which any bacteria has an effect on any particular area of our biology. So we're doing entire tree of effects. So we will know exactly what are the effects. And it's actually a crossover study. I'm super proud because of that, because every microbiome is like a fingerprint. It's totally unique. So you can't really compare microbiome to microbiome. That's why every single person is going to be in the placebo group without them knowing, and they're going to be a part of actually drinking Ańalemma water, again, without them knowing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a long study, large study, but we can get a mountain of data. So I'm super, super excited about that. And it's going to actually finish in, I'm hoping within a month already, we might show the first results.
Well, I love your scientific rigor because I think this is something that we encounter all too often in the water community. We're not within the water community, but as a water community, when we're sharing our passion and these discoveries with the world, so often the typical mentality is, oh, well, all water is just clear liquid. And if it's clear liquid, then it must all be the same and have the same results. And it's considered pseudoscience to say that no, water is life, and therefore changing your water can absolutely change your life more profoundly than any other factor, more profoundly than diet, possibly more profoundly than environment, because this is what we're made of. As you said, 99% of the molecules within us are made of water. And so it affects absolutely everything that we are, psychologically, physiologically, mind, body, and spirit. And you guys are really able to quantify that in a powerful way that not many other companies are doing. So I really respect that quite a lot.
Thank you so much. We're really committed. We understand the world we are living in. And there are people who intuitively understand the extraordinary importance of water. But what we want to do is change the world. Therefore, we need to speak the language that scientific community speaks. And that's why we're so much investing into science, so that it becomes irrefutable. Mm-hmm. All great truths start as blasphemies. Mm-hmm. And then everybody, oh, yeah, I knew it all along. But that's why we're doing the hard work, so that the whole science becomes, everybody is just going to say, of course, like, this is how the water is. And I'm super grateful that we're doing the work the proper way. Yes. Then, everybody just have to look at data. Mm-hmm. Data talks. Mm-hmm. So yeah, maybe I can also mention that there is a whole craze in the health and wellness community about NAD levels. Mm-hmm. Since there is a great correlation between ATP and NAD, and we actually already proved through our double-blind placebo-controlled study, we can talk about that a bit, it's again extraordinary, that entire... Yeah. So we did a double-blind placebo-controlled study where we measured ATP levels, adenosine triphosphate, which is the primary energy currency of the cell. It's directly responsible for powering the majority of cellular processes inside of our body, including muscle contraction, nerve impulse transmission, biochemical reactions. Every breath, every heartbeat depends on ATP. So we wanted to do a study that will measure if anything happens with ATP levels when people drink this water. So we did double-blind, again, placebo-controlled study. We employed luciferase, which is an enzyme that catalyzes light production in bioluminescent organisms. And due to its extraordinary sensitivity, you can very accurately measure ATP levels in humans. So we really use the method that is scientifically proven, and it's very accurate. So we took a snapshot of ATP levels before the beginning of the study. Then participants drank 1.5 liters of Ańalemma water per day without changing anything else in the world. They didn't change their diets, exercise regime, everything stayed the same, except the water. And after 2 months, we did another snapshot to see what actually happened with ATP levels. And what we saw was 20% rise in overall mitochondrial energy of the body over the placebo. When you calculate the placebo, that's almost 1/3 of entire energy production of the body just by drinking the water. And we are not talking about here Red Bull energy. We're talking about actual mitochondrial energy. Scientists now agree that one of the key causes of cellular aging is the decline in mitochondrial function. And we proved that just by drinking the water, your mitochondrial function increases more than significantly. And this has profound effects basically on any area of health. So it's not just about muscle contraction or athletic performance, even though that's also a huge thing. Not a lot of people are aware that 20%, the biggest spender of ATP is actually our brain. 25% of our entire energy goes just to feeding the brain. For one neuron to send an impulse to a neighboring cell, it needs to hydrolyze 1 billion ATP molecules. Wow. And there are billions of neurons. So people with high ATP levels have much higher cognitive performance. So yeah, immune function, there are so many things which are correlated with ATP. Yeah, now to come back what I wanted to talk about, there is a great correlation between NAD and ATP. We already proved the ATP levels rise more than significantly. Now we're in the middle of double-blind placebo-controlled study where we are measuring how much NAD levels rise just by drinking the water.
And do you guys have any preliminary data on that, on the NAD levels?
No, it's still, these kind of, we do
still
this the proper way, so there are nothing, because it's double blind, placebo controlled, you don't know anything until all of the data is collected and done and everything. And we wanted to do it that way, so we still have to wait. So that study also, I believe, would be done in a month. And we will definitely let you know as soon as we have
of course,
all the results, because this is hugely exciting for us as well, because it's another extraordinary marker. If you have high NAD levels, you are going to have a much longer life.
Absolutely.
And we did also, I haven't mentioned, we did glycan age study. So we proved that.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, the biological age. What I love about glycan age is we wanted to measure biological age in some way, but what I love about that study is these guys are leaders in glycoscience. They have over 120 published scientific works within let's say, the world of glycans. So what they're actually doing, you have these, through the state of glycans, you can very accurately see what's happening with your immune system. And the other element is you have this pro-inflammatory and anti-inflammatory glycans. So you can very accurately measure what is the level of inflammation in your body. And we all know that the low systemic inflammation in the body is again, one of the key causes of all the problems that happen later in life. So when they calculate all of this together, they give your biological age.
Friends, what if you could turn back the hands of time and age backwards by 1 to 12 years within only 3 months? Sounds impossible, right? Well, 99% of participants in a groundbreaking study experienced exactly that, biological age revitalization of 1 to 12 years just by drinking Ańalemma water daily. But that's not all. What if you could also create brainwave coherence, regenerate your gut microbiome, and boost your cellular energy, all from the water that you drink? This is the power of Ańalemma water. Using a unique technology that was developed over 14 years inside the laboratory of a Nobel Prize winner, Ańalemma transforms ordinary water into a crystalline structure that holds the full spectrum of biophotonic light frequencies. Whether you're using their portable wand or whole home water treatment systems, Ańalemma is scientifically proven to elevate your body on a quantum level. Find it at waterislife.shop and use the code waterislife for 10% off.
So again, we did a study in 3 months. People were using drinking 1.5 liters of lemon water per day without changing anything else in the world. And after third month, we took another snapshot took biological age of the same individuals in the study. And we saw almost with every single individual in the study, we saw between 1 and 12 years of biological age regeneration. So this is another very powerful, I would say, long-term indicator that something really awesome happens with your body when you drink this water.
It just goes to show you there's a reason why the fountain of youth is a fountain. It's not a mushroom of youth. It's not a,
Agreed.
a gemstone of youth. It's a fountain. It's water in and of itself is the greatest youthener that there is, youthening revitalizer.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Right kind of water.
Yes, right kind of water. There is water and there is water, and there is like a huge difference. But I want to mention something now and I know that your listeners, since you are so spiritual, your listeners are as well. What I love about it is, I don't know if you're familiar with Conversations with God book by Neil Donald Walsch. Yeah.
That
I love
was
those
a very
books.
formative book for me back in, I think, about 2006. That was one of my first awakening books.
For me as well. So we shared that as well. What I love about it, if you remember when God in the book was talking about healing in the future, how we are actually going to heal each other. God mentioned again extraordinary healing power of water, and that we are not going to be using anything that we're using now. The only thing that is going to be used is the pouring of water on the person.
Oh, I'll have to go back and reread that. It's been so long, I completely forgot that was in there.
It's just beautiful.
And
beautiful,
that's my
beautiful.
vision. That's my absolute vision for the world. There's no other healing is needed. Water is nature's primary medicine. We're chasing our tails with all of these other kind of band-aid solutions when water is the source of life to restore
It's
vitality.
the source
we
of
come
life.
back to water, and then that helps regulate everything else in the body. Yes, we can, take other antioxidants, we can take other supplements, but the body has the capacity to regulate itself and to produce all of its own, macromolecules and biomolecules and all of these different things that it needs when it's given the right foundational ingredient, which is water.
I agree with you 100%. You know
Occam's
what's
razor, the simplest solution
the
is
simplest,
true.
it's the right one. I agree with you 100%. What I love about, have you heard about, what's the name? It's Vinnie Tolman, I believe. Have you heard the story about him? He had this extraordinary near-death experience. The dude is amazing. Check him out. He's just phenomenal. He had this experience where he died. He went on the other side, and he had such a profound experience with water. He again spoke about that water is the healing agent everywhere. So anyhow, just wanted to mention that these are the things that really warm my heart, because this is what it's all about. It all comes down, I believe that consciousness marries form through water. This is the most fundamental level of our existence. And when you touch that, when you move that, everything else moves. Your entire biology just follows. Your entire biology just mirrors that. That's why it's so important.
It weaves you to your own consciousness. It's so beautiful. So let's back up a little bit. And for anyone who is unfamiliar with exactly what shifts in this water, what makes this water so incredibly different? I mean, it's going to look like clear liquid either way, but what are the light frequencies in the water? What information does the water carry? What is the structure of the water? What makes this so different?
So yeah, we realized very early on in our research that water currently exists in what we call a chaotic state. So it's still H2O, but H2O molecules, they move randomly, chaotically, they crash into each other constantly. And since all of this is happening on an atomic level, nobody's really aware of that. But there is another state of water. I would say that there are many states of water, but the ones that we are aware of now, let's call it that way, there is a way to bring order back into that chaos. When you use the Ańalemma, what happens is that those same chaotic H2O molecules, they start to, colloquially speaking, join hands. They start to connect themselves and they move into unison. They start to move in togetherness. They enter into a liquid crystalline state. Through this unique process, water becomes alive. It becomes empowered, and it can actually do so much for our health and wellness. This is where the magic happens. There is the resonance phenomenon that starts happening there. Water enters into the state of unity, I would say. And when you drink the water, just like we showed how fast it happens with the brainwaves, couple of sips of Ańalemma water instantly harmonize your brainwaves. There's instant. I haven't even talked about delta coherence. Delta coherence usually happens when people use psychedelics. There is delta coherence happens when people drink Ańalemma water.
Wow.
So you literally enter into a state of connectedness. But that's why I always say it's so important to, it happens when people drink this water to actually, they're spiritual people. You start to meditate. You prime your entire system to receive. And then you can actually enter into a state of silence and feel. You can truly perceive everything around you in a powerful way. And then you communicate with life. Water is a communication system. It enables us to feel, touch, experience, to know in a deep way.
It really does. And that's why we've devoted our lives to water. Because once you discover that, there's no going back. So you've shared so much of the clinical trials that you've done, each one more astounding than the last. And you alluded to some anecdotal stories that some Ańalemma customers have shared. Now, I know that you guys cannot make claims of anything that can't be substantiated clinically, but maybe you can share with us some of the stories that people have experienced. What have been some of people's firsthand experiences of miracles or healings that they've had happen in their own lives since drinking this water?
There are so many. There are too many to even talk about. But what I love about it is that given all of the body of the data, all of the letters that we received and everything, how water touches where you are the weakest. There, the whole repair process starts. And there are so many. I remember one lady that as soon as she started drinking LM water, she started having this crazy dreams, really intense. It's like the buffer that was filled in some way or form got released. And after a while, it all subsided. So there are so many ways how our body releases anything that is like either too much or too little. And water in its infinite gentleness allows all of this to happen naturally. So there is nothing stone-like or hard about water. Water is gentleness itself. It just moves in that particular way. Just like it moves in nature, it moves inside of our bodies in the same way. But I can mention one pilot study we did, again, with all of the disclaimers that you just mentioned. We did a pilot study when we saw this extraordinary effect on the brainwaves. We wanted to see, okay, can this kind of really do something in that particular way? So there is a lady that had serious, really serious, irreversible neurological disorder, let's call it that way, which involved brainwaves. So you cannot miss it. This is the thing, you know. I'm not going to go into too much details, but anyhow, in 2 months, all of the symptoms went away and the brainwaves went 100% to green.
Wow.
But again, I don't like to talk about this. And with all disclaimers, this is not intended to heal, treat, and anything else. You know, we're sticking with general health and wellness. And just so you know, that's why we're picking the studies in this way. So we're picking something that we can do on healthy people because this is what we want to prove. If you go with ATP levels, or have profound effects on your entire biology. You just pick it. You can go to Google and see what high ATP level is going to do. Microbiome. If your microbiome improves, you can see how your body is going to respond. NAD levels, exactly the same. So that's why we're doing this studies so that we prove to people, if you drink this water, it's going to make a difference.
Zoom out for our last few minutes together and get a little visionary. What would the world look like if humanity partnered with water? What would our species look like if we started treating water as the source rather than just a resource? What is the greater world that we know is possible? What is the heaven that we would be able to bring to earth if water, as the mediator between the human and the heavenly, were allowed her full artistic expressiveness and creativity in her highest form?
I love this question, and thank you so much for asking it. Water mirrors us. Water is a broadband absorber, receiver, and transmitter of energy, frequency, and vibration. Water is teaching us why it's important to be kind. Because when I'm kind to another person, that kindness changes the biology of a different person. Why? Through water. Water picks up and stores that energy and frequency and vibration. It teaches us to be kind. Water is a mirror. So when we change, just like you mentioned, when we change towards water, which is life, everything will change. Water is going to mirror what we are putting out. If you put out love, is going to be reflected. If you put out joy, is going to be reflected. If you send out blessings, are going to be reflected. Every single living thing is going to change on this planet. That's why the mission statement of our company is to make all the bodies of water on the planet coherent. Again, we already developed this eco-friendly technology. That's why we want to bring it to governmental level. We want to install it in the wells of the biggest rivers.
Tell us about that. I had no idea you guys were working on that.
Oh man, then can you imagine life down the stream?
Yes.
All the plants, all the animals, everything would thrive. The microbiome, everything would change. And check this out. All this water would end up in the oceans. Then the oceans, after a year or two, would become coherent.
So what is this technology? Is it like a black box technology that you just put at the spring at the source of a river, or is it a kind of a vortexing turbine with Ańalemma water inside of it?
It's Ańalemma water, but we kind of created this, it's similar system, so to speak, like we're using, but we just want to scale it. And we want to make it in a way that works forever.
Yes.
So you just install it and you leave it there, and water changes. Water is the blood of our planet. When we make water healthy, we are going to be healthy. That's why I always like to say that Mother Earth is the hidden voice of this project. It's changing everything. Water is like a magician. Everything it touches changes. But the key element, what I mentioned, it's a mirror. It mirrors you. That's why I love the whole ritual. When you take the wand and you are conscious with your water, when you're swirling, you are literally making a ritual. Water is absorbing. You can send your highest energies. You can send your highest blessings, the very best of who you are. You can invite God and angels to come and pour into that water. And when you drink it, your every single cell will rejoice. So I would say that combination of consciousness and water is going to change everything on the planet.
Absolutely. And water is what brings the consciousness through.
Yes.
Water is the vessel that consciousness comes through. There is no consciousness taking form or taking, having action on earth without water, except through the right kinds of water. And water's capacity to transmit consciousness and to be a vessel for consciousness is directly proportional to her coherence and the spectrum of light frequencies that she holds, that she carries, which is what makes Ańalemma so unique than anything else, and such a blessing and a gift on this earth. You know, I think we're at this time of bifurcation where, on the one hand, technology and artificial intelligence are becoming very strong and seemingly very dominant. But on the other hand, water, who is the original intelligence of nature and the original technology of life, is evolving, is choosing to awaken and choosing people to awaken. And she's creating this worldwide water awakening, this worldwide water movement, and stimulating the insights and the creative capacities of everyone who's working with her in different ways, so that she's able to really provide the counterbalance to that artificial intelligence, so that she's awakening this natural intelligence, this capacity for more and higher and greater levels of consciousness. And you guys are a big part of that. You're a really big part of that with what you're doing. And I do not underestimate the impact or the potential that this has for our planet as a whole, individually and collectively. So thank you so much for everything that you guys are doing, Mario. It's always inspiring to touch in. I feel like every time I touch in with Ańalemma, I discover you guys are up to something else and something new and something different and something more beautiful. And the next study that you're doing is even more exciting than the last one. So I can't thank you enough. And I have one final question that I like to ask most of our guests, and it is an unanswerable question, so please don't feel any pressure around it.
Okay.
It is like trying to quantify the ineffable. But as someone who has devoted his life to water and seen so much of what water is capable of, what is water?
Is life. I believe that we are consciousness itself. So we exist on a much higher level, let's call it that way, vibrationally. And everything in the physical universe is based on water. There is no life without water. Water is life. Just like I mentioned, consciousness marries the form through water. It is the extension of God, for the lack of better word.
That beautifully expressed. Thank you so much. And how can people connect with you? How can people dive deeper into your offerings and keep a finger on the pulse of what Ańalemma is up to?
So I invite people to come to coherent-water.com and jump on a newsletter. We're continuously doing, as you have heard, a lot of studies. And if you want to follow our work, this is one way to do it. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. There we kind of share all the interviews that we're doing and all of the studies. And I'm telling you, we barely scratched the surface of the beauty of this. So we're not stopping. We're not nearly stopping with all of this. We're just going to go and continue and expand. There are so many things that we just want to do it. Me personally, I just want to do it justice. When you realize the extraordinary miracle that it is, I just kind of want to do everything in my power to bring it to as much people as possible, to tell this story in a way that people really get there's something magical here. And then, they're going to go down the rabbit hole. And that's why I'm thanking you. You are one of those extraordinary individuals that is bringing what's relevant to this world in this point in time. And therefore, you're a lighthouse. So thank you. And thank you for bringing me into your space so I can share this story. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here with us. It's been such a joy to get to connect with you, and I'm looking forward to the next time as well. I couldn't agree more that once you catch the water bug, all you want to do is, how do I just do justice to this great infinite mystery? How can I share this awe that is the most enlivening and rewarding and fulfilling thing? I feel like when you align with water, just life starts to become so much more magical and so much more miraculous, and the synchronicities just start going off everywhere. And the more people that we can tune into this mission, and everyone, of course, has their own unique flavor of their water mission, but everyone as a body of water has an onus to water in some way, has a responsibility to water in some way. Water is awakening everyone in different ways. And I love to see how people are coming online with their water missions, and to be able to be a part of telling that story, and be a part of people's awakening and people's water journeys, because it becomes about so much more than just what we can do in our own limited capacity. And it becomes about seeing the ripple effects and seeing how it starts shifting families, and then it starts shifting communities, and then it starts shifting, eventually shifting our entire nation and our entire world. So I feel like we're really just at the beginning of this. We've only scratched the meniscus of it. It goes so much deeper, and an exciting precipice to be on the edge of right
I
now.
love what you just mentioned, because this is what it's all about. It's about service.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love this poem by Rumi. I'm just going to recite a part of it. Like, in love, aside from sipping the wine of timelessness, nothing else exists. There is no reason for living except for giving one's life. I said, first I know you, then I die. He said, for the one who knows me, there is no dying. It's all about giving. What are you devoting yourself to? What are you serving? If you're serving life, there are going to be gazillion opportunities every single day to do that. And in one day, your life can change. One day.
Mm-hmm. Maybe for someone listening to this podcast, this is that day. And
Yeah.
this is that impetus. And they've found the inspiration. And if that's you and you're listening to this right now, please reach out. Please get in touch. We have water teams who are devoted to this mission and are spreading the good work and the good news and the healing. And we'd love for you to be a part of it. So please stay in touch. And Mario, you please stay in touch too. I'm looking forward to the next time we get to chat.
Totally.
To everyone who is listening, have a beautiful day, be well, and stay hydrated.
Friends, if you're loving what you're learning on the podcast and you want to dive deeper, check out the courses, webinars, workbooks, and private coaching available at waterislife.academy. These are on-demand, lifetime access programs where we dive into brand new concepts not taught here on the podcast. And if you're ready to optimize your water to be a healthy wellspring of hydration, discover the water alchemy tools that are available at waterislife.shop. And let's connect on Instagram at JenIsabelFriend. I look forward to seeing you there. Stay hydrated and be well.